Okay, I would suggest we are going to start now. Thank you very much for joining in great numbers and all in time. It's a pleasure to see you. I would appreciate if you turn on your cameras so that I'm not just speaking to a bunch of black tiles. But of course, we accept if you want to have your coffee in in your privacy. Um, We are going to have that planning meeting in the same format as we had it last year. Um, some of you might remember that usually we had our planning meeting before we opened the draft program for comments, but last year, due to a conflict with the global IGF that also had their meeting on that day, we decided to do it the other way around, that we first publish the the draft program for comments and then have the planning meeting. And actually, it turned out that this was a pretty good idea. So we kept that format, and we didn't receive that many comments, and in particular, no comments on the real substance of the draft program. If you visit our website, you will possibly see the list of draft comments that Rainer has already published. So if you go to the public planning meeting page and open that accordion, you will see above the agenda a sentence that says, please find the comments we received on the draft program here, but we will have a look at it in a minute. For the time being, I would just like to give you a short introduction on where we are with regards to the program planning and the preparation of the conference. And it's, for me, personally, a big pleasure to be back in Brussels after 10 years, exactly 10 years, because in 2016, we have already been in Brussels. Also at that time, EuroDIG was already our host, and since that worked so well, we had the idea, why not doing it again? Last year, we've been in the Council of Europe, and this year we are in the European Commission, and we believe that's a very strong sign for a European regional IGF to gain the interest of the two key institutions that are active on the continent, namely the Council of Europe and the European Commission, together with EuroDIG as a host. The host and the program committee, they have already come up with a title, which is European Voices for the Future of the Internet. And we are also celebrating 20 years of .eu, the top-level domain for the European Union. And obviously, after the WSIS Plus 20 review, we can consider ourselves at the beginning of a new internet governance era. And EuroDIG will be the first bigger or regional IGF that will have its meeting after the WSIS Plus 20 review. And we will truly use the chance to have an in-depth discussion on the outcomes of the review. Go to the next slide. So I said it already, EuroDIG is our host, the registry for the .eu domain name, and we are supported by our long-standing institutional partner, which is the European Commission. We are very thankful for the European Commission that they could offer us one of their buildings, which is very prominently placed right next to the headquarters. It is the Charlemagne building in Rue de la Loi. It is right next to the Berlaymont building, which you can consider the headquarters of the European Commission, and ideally located between two major public transportation stations, which is Schumann and Malbec. Also in a very close, convenient area to the European Parliament. So with this, we hope that we can also attract parliamentarians to come along. We have 3 rooms available. One is the main auditorium that covers around 430 people. And we have 2 rather big workshop rooms with 120 people. Those 2 numbers together, which is about 700 and something, we also have a maximum number of capacity that we can accept in a number of registrations. Speaking about the registration, it will open as most of the years on the 1st of March, but it will close a bit earlier on the 30th of April already. So we really urge everyone to register as soon as possible, as soon as you are clear that your travel plans are made. We will also, differently from other years, offer 2 forms, one for online and one for on-site registration. That means you really have to decide upon registration whether you would like to participate online or on-site. The reason is on-site participants will require to submit additional data in order to pass security in the Charlemagne building. We are collecting this data. We are not giving it to any other third parties except the European Commissions. But you really have to think beforehand whether you would like to be an online or an on-site participant. We will, however, provide the links for online participation later on also to the on-site participants, because we know that some of you would like to join the virtual meeting rooms, although you are attending on-site. And this is very much wanted because there's sometimes a quite interesting discussion going on in the chat. So, but for your registration, please think about it beforehand, whether online or on-site, and keep in mind the hard deadline of 30th of April. Since we have that limitation of numbers, and we would be surprised if we exceed the maximum capacity, but if we exceed the maximum capacity, we even have to close the registration earlier. In our registration, we will also ask whether you would like to participate in the full conference or just in one morning or an afternoon. We will also ask if you would like to participate in lunch in order to be most efficient with regards to ordering food and reaching that maximum number of capacity. Our program is not that much of a difference from the previous year. It is a bit shorter. We used to have EuroDIG for 3 days, but we also realized that people do not want to attend 3 days conferences anymore. That's quite a big of an ask. So we shortened it already to 2.5 days. And this year we are even a bit more comprised, and we have a 2 days conference. However, we keep our 3 days youth program plus an online preparation phase for the youth diggers. So they will be arriving already the Friday before. Then they have their sessions on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And on Tuesday, the EuroDIG starts with pre-events. And then we continue with 3 parallel tracks given to the 3 rooms that we have available. We have 4 main sessions, 1 less than last year, and 8 workshops. We do not have the flash sessions anymore, but this is also due to the room capacity that is available. So 2 workshop tracks, 1 main session track, and if that is requested from the community, we did it last year already. It worked very well, actually. We can also organize virtual sessions in preparation of EuroDIG. Those virtual sessions will be recorded and can serve the participants as an, let's say, preparation for the session, for the on-site session. So that can be really part of the conference. If we, let's say, last year it was on quantum technology, is a topic that still needs a little bit of capacity building. So we clarified basic terms and definitions around quantum technology before we then had a discussion on quantum technology during EuroDIG. And this can be held for any other topic as well. And it would be up to the community or to the org teams to suggest these format. Are there any questions so far? I'm not able to watch the chat, so I would expect that that Rainer stops me if I overlook something or if someone has raised your hand. And I would always like to invite you to raise your hand if a question comes up. But let me ask first, are there any questions at the moment? Okay, if this is not the case, then let me continue. No, geht das nicht. So I said already, we keep the format of pre-events, but also here it will be a little bit different because it's the 20th anniversary of the .eu top-level domain. We will give due focus to EuroDIG in that point in time. EuroDIG will organize 3 masterclasses. One topic is already mentioned in the program. I know that Regina from EuroDIG is joining that call. Maybe she can talk about it also, what is planned in these masterclasses. We see the IGF use track, and we will have one session that we believe will be in particular of interest for the Brussels crowd, which is a session organized by the Council of Europe, legal professionals navigating e-learning and AI. This is a topic, I think, very much hands-on, very practical, and we hope that we can attract a lot of the lawyers that are based in Brussels. Otherwise, we keep the pre-events a little bit limited this time for the reason that we would really like to give due attention to the 20th anniversary of the .eu top-level domain. Then we will have the opening. EuroDIG will be starting in the afternoon after the lunch break. We consider a lunch break of 90 minutes so that there is enough time for networking also. We are already very happy that EVP Virkkunen has confirmed her participation. She will deliver a keynote speech, and she will also take questions from the floor, which we find is a really nice gesture. And we will also, as usual, continue with our EuroDIG messages. You remember in EuroDIG, the youngsters, they are preparing their messages as well. And that will be combined with an intergenerational dialogue. That is a format that we are organizing since 3 years, I guess, which was also considered very useful. The opening plenary, that was something that our host and institutional partner, the European Commission, suggested, that we look at safeguarding European democracy and its digital public sphere. And you will see that the program committee has identified the public sphere as something that we should looking closer into in this year's EuroDIG. So public sphere is sort of a focus area and kind of a red line through this year's EuroDIG. The EuroDIG, I said it already, is our youth dialogue on internet governance. It's now the 9th years in a row that we organize the youth program under this name, EuroDIG. But at EuroDIG, we had youth participation already from the very early days. We started with round tables, and Then there was a new media summer school. So EuroDIG is really something very close to our heart, and of course we keep that. And just last night, the registration of EuroDIG has closed. It was open for 2 weeks, and we received again the number of 422 applications from 56 countries of origin. So we asked for nationality and country of residence. That is, last year it was 427. So last year was a record, and we didn't know if this was just happening by accident, but obviously our youth program is well received, and we are very happy that we get so much attention.
Our section. Does that make sense?
Are there any questions or comments? Okay. The youth diggers, they will have 4 online meetings, and they will be starting in March or April, whenever the group is confirmed. And they will be meeting for 3 days, as I said already, in person at EuroDIG, and EuroDIG will be part of their program. So for them, it will be almost a week of conference, and they will come up with the EuroDIG messages after there. Our EuroDIG organizing team is always comprised of former EuroDIGgers. That is something that is very important for us, that it shouldn't be senior people telling the youngsters what to do, but we really would like to see that the youngsters are organizing their own program. So we have Nadia Tjachja, who is our EuroDIG coordinator, and she's also part of the secretariat. She is leading the group. And we have youth diggers from the year of 2018, like Joao, but also youth diggers from last year, like Somaya or Sabeta. So we have a pretty diverse group. They will be reviewing all the applications now, the 422 applications, and then they will organize, or they will come up with a program that is based on their personal experience, what they found useful, what they would like to change. And they will be basically responsible for organizing the youth program for this year's cohort. We will again invite up to 30 youth diggers, and they will be based in a youth hostel at the a little bit of the outside of the city center of Brussels, but still in a distance, so that they can commute between the conference and EuroDIG. And this is our program committee. I understand that might be very small, but I have always made a hint that you will all find all that information, of course, also on the website. With regards to the program committee, we have included youth, of course, which is Francis from last year's EuroDIG, and Isan, who was at EuroDIG, I guess, 3 years ago. We have some of the senior EuroDiggers like Marc Havel, who was leading the process on digital cooperation, on GDP, Global Digital Compact, and WSIS Plus 20 review. We have, of course, included this year's host and cooperation partner, EuroDIG, and the European Commission. And we are also very happy to have the host from 2024, Inga, and 2025, Octavian, and EuroDIG board, which is Urieu, and Minda and Desara and Philip are experts that are joining us, and with their expertise on certain areas. And also new in this program committee is Nicolas, who happened to be who's managing the Swiss IGF, the National IGF of Switzerland. So, our draft program is based on the call for issues. We received 63 submissions. They are pretty balanced across all categories. You can find an updated list that was updated by the end of January, because our institutional partners came up with some proposals later on. They are included now in this list of proposals. And the program committee in January has identified focus areas. They merged similar proposals, but also identified a gap and agreed on the session formats that we would like to see at EuroDIG. Are there questions or comments so far? Please speak up or raise your hand. Okay, I see nothing so far, but feel free to just interrupt me if you have a question. The session format, I said already, we will see 4 main sessions, and the format that we tried out last year turned out to be quite successful. And since we are in this very good situation again that everyone has a personal mic on its table in the workshop rooms and in the main auditorium, we kept that format where we invite, where we say the main sessions are not just panel discussions, but we would like to offer a slot for 30 minutes input. That can be 2 keynote speeches or 2 input speeches of 15 minutes or 3 input speeches of 10 minutes. They can be on a high level or an expert presentation. Then we go into a 45 minutes discussion with everyone in the room. I said already this is possible due to the fact that everyone has a microphone on the table. We will again ask for to sign up to make an intervention, but we will of course also allow for spontaneous intervention. So it will again be a mixture between prepared statements of 2 minutes or 3 minutes, yet to be defined, and hand raised that or discussions that emerged from the room. So the moderator has really a very important job in terms of balancing the community dialogue and the pre-prepared statement. We find that concept a good one because those people who really would like to say on a certain topic, they have to prepare. They have to be very concise, 2 minutes. We will have a timer in the room. And but we are, of course, still open for spontaneous reactions on what has been said or spontaneous contributions. And then at the end of the session, about 15 minutes, can also be a little bit less, we would like to agree on the messages. I come in a minute to the messages. This is our draft program. I said already we have the master classes, or we are starting in the morning with the master classes. In parallel, we have only one track, which is the IGF Use track, and the session for legal professionals. And then after a 90 minutes lunch break, we are going to start with the welcome speeches, with the keynote, the opening plenary, and the intergenerational dialogue. We will discuss the program in a minute. I just would like to go through that presentation. All the titles that you see here in this program are still working titles. It's up to the org team to define the final titles. But we are going to start in the main auditorium on Wednesday with the WSIS plus 20 review outcomes and the path to implementation. That is the global level. We will then go to the European level on European approaches to digital sovereignty. From the European level, we would like to go to the local level on trustworthy AI and public services, about transparency, accountability, crisis resilient communication, and then to the very personal level, to the individuum on platform engagement, but also in the view of strengthening the digital public sphere. On the workshop side, we have a number of workshops that are, we were calling it CCTLD track beforehand, but I think it's not really just a CCTLD track, but they have, of course, a relevance for a country code top-level domain or a top-level domain and such. We will be looking into the European digital single market. The EU business wallet is a keyword here, but also on the EU AI Act, on DNS, and technical measures to address online harms. We would like to speak about what should you do and what should you not do. Advancing gender equality was a topic that the program committee found interesting to include in the program. Then we will looking into standard setting and what role frontier technologies can play. Online safety is an ongoing topic in EuroDIG's program, but in particular, our youth representatives and the program committee have said it would be good to include youth in this generation so that not the same usual suspects are discussing the same thing every year, but really trying to organize this session by including the future generation. I think it comes pretty timely because more and more countries also in Europe are discussing a ban for social media platforms for under 14. So this is, I think, a discussion that will stay with us for quite a while. And then we would like to look into how NRIs, national regional initiatives, can be implementing the WSIS Plus 20 outcomes. We would like to have a discussion with all other stakeholders after reflecting on EuroDIG. And one workshop was proposed to be on quantum cryptography. You will see that there are ID numbers underneath each proposal. Some of them are in brackets. That means that those proposals are sort of related to the working title. Those that are in brackets are less related than the others. And everyone from these ID numbers, you will find if you have submitted a proposal, you will find your ID number in the list of proposals. And then you can see whether where your ID was incorporated. We could not include all ID numbers because it was said the program committee has defined a focus for the conference. But regardless if you submitted a proposal or not, and regardless if your proposal is clustered in one of the topics, everyone is invited to join any org team. And I will speak a bit later on how these org teams will be formed. So, but before I go to the next step, I would really stop here talking for a while and now really give the floor to the program committee and to everyone else to basically discuss the draft program. Once we have accomplished this, I will explain a little bit more on the messages, on the timeline, how you can participate in the future, how org teams will be formed, and what is the role of the wiki. But for the time being, I would really stop here and like to invite everyone to let us know, what do you think of the program? Do you think something is missing? Just speak up. And of course, I also invite the program committee to share their findings. And don't be shy.
Well, hello everyone. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Can you break the distance?
Octavia, yeah, please go ahead. Please, when you speak up, introduce yourself.
My name is Octavian Szopransky. I'm representing the Council of Europe. in this year's event. We've been partnering with the EuroDIG for several years, actually, I guess for all the years of its existence, with great successes. It is a institution that has established itself, and as you can see, we have a very solid and focused program. And I should thank Sandra and the team for doing this regularly already for a number of years. This year, of course, the place is in Brussels, and here from more Brussels focus, to a certain extent, we can carry on the Strasbourg focus from the last year and couple it with the Brussels focus, for instance, in the topic of AI, where we have a complementary legal norms elaborated recently. I think the program is quite well balanced, and we can fit important, I would say, speeches and interventions into this four main sessions and workshops. Of course, we understand that there are limitations. For instance, the topic of artificial intelligence is very important, very trendy. There's a lot of subtopics that can be discussed. But because of the program limitations, we need to focus on one area. We have one main session dedicated to this. We're still, I think, working on its specific title and content, but it would certainly be a focused session and a very interesting session. I'm also inviting everyone here to advertise EuroDIG with their constituencies, with their colleagues, friends, because it is a very rich event, first of all, in terms of sessions, but also in terms of networking. And since it's in Brussels, it gives opportunities to network with other, let's say, institutions. For instance, the digital companies, all of the digital companies, important digital companies in Europe and worldwide, have their lobbying or other representatives in Brussels. That's also a great opportunity for us. And of course, we need to carry forward the link to the IGF with this session on how do we formulate it. This is plus 20, and to see how the European policymaking in terms of internet governance articulates with the global policymaking, and then to the NRIs, as Sandra well pointed out. So I think we have come quite well in this process nowadays, and I'm waiting actually to listen to the next steps where we can efficiently join the organizing team and shape the discussion to the best of its possible, let's say, shape. Thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you very much, Octavian, for the nice word. We have two hands raised, Anna Neves and Francesco Vecchi. In that order, please, Anna, go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon, and it's very good to be here to prepare the next EuroDIG. And my reflection goes to the outcome document from the WSIS plus 20. So we are in a new phase of the WSIS plus 20, of the WSIS itself, and a specific role is now mentioned in the outcome document to the national and regional initiatives. So in Portugal, we are trying to reorganize ourselves in order to better deliver and to have more impact at national level. And so my intervention now is to raise some thoughts on the reflection on how EuroDIG 2026 can better serve or comply with the WSIS plus 20 document. In terms of impact and to include a lot of different stakeholders, of course, and to have some insights from the national initiatives of Europe, and to see in the future how we can have this triangle of Council of Europe, European Union, and European national initiatives, to have here to better serve and in order to have more impact in the EuroDIG, and to EuroDIG to have more impact in Europe, and then to have more impact in the global IGF. So these are my comments for the time being. So we have a program, we are doing our way. Congratulations to all of you that are very involved. And well, this is some food for discussion, for further discussion and reflection. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anna, also for emphasizing the importance of the WSIS Plus 20 review. We have a main session and a workshop on this, and we really see the need of giving a start into the new internet governance era, if we would say like this. Francesco.
Hello, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me well. Again, congratulations for the program. I do think it's extremely timely and a very amazing work. So thank you very much. As some of you might know, I'm Francesco Vecchi. I work as the Civic Artificial Intelligence Coordinator at Humans. So the question about the digital public sphere is quite compelling to me, and I do believe it's essential, especially now. And I appreciate that you decided to focus on this specific topic for this year's edition. While I think that I will join a couple of organizing teams, but the discussion can come up later. I'd like to just state a warning for the Brussels bubble, because I remember that when we were last year at the high-level panel on Internet 4.0, there was an underlying misunderstanding, because that was supposed to be a global panel, why it was perceived by some of the European institutions as mostly European, and I would warn against making EuroDIG just European, too closer to European institutions. At the end of the day, EuroDIG is pan-European. It includes countries from the Council of Europe. So I do believe that it's important to make it the forum for conversations on internet governance in Europe in the broader term, not just another European Union related forum. And the second point is that even though I do see EuroDIG coming to Brussels as a great chance to, improve the institutionalization of the forum and even attract more politicians, more people in high-level positions, I also believe that it's important to strike the right balance between these institutional personalities that might be involved as speakers, whatever, and all the other stakeholders. Because the risk is that EuroDIG would lose a bit of its multi-stakeholder approach in favor of being too institutional, because simply the city works like this. I've been here for 1.5 years now, and I do believe that EuroDIG has a lot of competitive advantages compared to many of other initiatives that take place in Brussels, but we need to ensure that it is not cannibalized by political interests. And finally, since I guess we all know that the digital network sector will be under discussion in the coming months in Brussels, I fear that if we don't keep a very strict eye on the program, there will be plenty of MEPs trying to get in the floor to just say what they think about the specific legislation, which would make EuroDIG probably less, leaning too much towards the political sort of discussion. But I'm also sure that everyone here is extremely careful about these topics, and so I just wanted to share my 2 cents, and of course I'm happy to help in any way possible. I will also I'm also in Brussels now, so I will stay probably until May, so if you need any support in loco, just let me know.
Thank you very much, Francesco, for your thoughts. And Francesco, you didn't do it, but I would like to introduce you as one of the youth diggers that participated in EuroDIG or in EuroDIG 2 years ago or so, and stayed
2024, yes.
stayed with us for the time, which is great. What you say is pretty right. A lot of responsibility is with the org teams to avoid capture. However, we also understand that this concept of collaborative session organizing is something that is not really in the DNA of the Brussels audience. On the other hand, it is a challenge, and I mean, EuroDIG has been taking place in so many different countries with so many different cultural backgrounds, etc. We will take the Brussels bubble with joy, and if this makes it a little bit of a difference, EuroDIG, why not? I mean, it's up to us to deal with it. And I think the specific of a certain place is always a challenge, but on the other hand, also something that can be very enriching because you kind of get to know a different type of audience, which I find always very appealing. So you're right, there is this risk of political statements, capture, and all this, but why not experiencing something like this as well? So.
No, yes, of course. I just believe, I mean, this edition will be extremely political, that's for sure. I'm not even questioning it. But no, I just think that Brussels is also plenty of think tanks. There's plenty of NGOs, civil society organizations. There are also, of course, all the representatives from businesses. For example, all Google, Microsoft, and so on and so forth have their offices in Brussels. So I think that it is the right bubble to have a meaningful multi-stakeholder conversation, and doesn't happen so often at the end of the day in Brussels. So my concern was mostly to, how can I say, harness the full potential of the city, not just go towards the political side, because we already have the emails on the portal of the European Parliament. Just that.
Yeah. Help us spread the word, Francesco, since you are based on the ground. Wout, you are next on the list.
Yes, there I am, I think. You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, hello. I think it's important to compliment you guys that this is a very well-balanced program, because it looks at challenges that we've had for many years, something that came up in the past months, and something that is looking forward to the future that is awaiting us. And I think that is a balance that really serves EuroDIG very well. So I'm not going to give examples, it's not necessary. The only other thing I would like to respond to is what Anna just said. If it is important to look at the way that we work in the near future, perhaps it's a good idea to organize a session specifically for that, or perhaps a working group preparing for that, so that in 2027, if necessary, we can be perhaps a little bit different than we are today, or if there is a need to be different because of the way that we are now sort of globally organized underneath the UN in a slightly different way. The same that the IGF itself has to reinvent itself in the next year, because this year the cycle will be so short that it won't be any different. But for 2027, it may be necessary to change as well. So why not prepare if you have the chance? So that's just my 2 cents. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Wout. And that basically brings me also to an idea that EuroDIG is not the end. So if something or if a working group can be established after this EuroDIG, how to move forward on the regional and national IGF level, I think that could be also a possible outcome. I see no more hands raised, and I would like to invite the program committee to say a few words on how difficult or how easy it was to go through all the proposals. What I will do, Isan, I hand the floor to you, and in the meanwhile, I will change too many windows on the 2 screens. Isan, go ahead, and I will in the meanwhile go to the website and show the call for issues.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sandra. And again, it was really lovely to work with you, as well as all the other members of the program committee as well. For those who may not know me, my name is Azan. I was a youth digger, as Sandra mentioned, about 3 years ago. And I've been involved, I think, sort of in an informal capacity with a number of different youth dig as well as broader program-related discussions. I'm a member of the UK Internet Governance Steering Committee as well. And so I think from my perspective, because I've been dealing with, I guess, the more internet governance side of things when it came to the clustering of the proposals and so on, I take Wout's and Anna's comments on the WSIS plus 20 main session with a great degree of weight. I think they're quite important. And one of the things that was floated by Mark Carvel, who's also part of the program committee, but unfortunately could not make it today, was that a part of that session actually be dedicated to the role of the NRIs in terms of the follow-up of the implementation of the outcomes that came out of the WSIS plus 20 review. And I definitely do second as well the suggestion to create some sort of intersessional mechanism for EuroDIG to be involved in that sort of coordinating capacity and sort of evaluate, I guess, the impact of the outcomes and the discussions that are held at a multi-stakeholder level from NRIs. A suggestion that Mark was putting forward internally, and he's not here to represent his opinion, so I've considered it important to try to put that forward in his stead, and perhaps for consideration for the rest of the individuals present over here as well, is that the main session on WSIS plus 20 be structured in a way that allows for an initial conversation and discussion on the outcomes so that everyone is at the same level in terms of what actually happened in December of last year in the General Assembly and what that means for all of us, particularly by individuals who were very, very closely involved with that process. And then invite comments at a multi-stakeholder level. So comments from civil society, comments from academia, the technical community, and so on, in terms of whether we felt that it went as well as we could have expected it to, or if there are things that are missing that we would like to, for example, ask and put forward for consideration at other multi-stakeholder avenues and opportunities like the IGF, or perhaps even beyond that, and really try to increase the role that EuroDIG can play in terms of really A, demonstrating the value that we add to this ecosystem, and B, holding other stakeholders to account in terms of what it is that we would like to see for the internet of the future that we want. And then the second part of that session potentially could focus on NRI specifically and what it is that we can do to strengthen the ecosystem and how we can further evaluate and monitor the impact that we have within our own respective sort of like national sort of boundaries that are within our remit. The final part of that suggestion that Mark put forward was that in terms of the bit of doing messages, perhaps it would also be better to try to drive some more action and think about what it is that we can do in a more tangible sort of way, as opposed to looking at purely drafting messages for the sake of being able to explain what our opinion on something is. I think it should have a more focused sort of aim associated with that. And again, what the specifics of that could be is exactly what we're here to discuss as well in future avenues. But I think to answer Sandra's question in a very, very long-winded way, we were very happy with the quality of the proposals that we received on WSIS. I was also involved in collating the proposals relating to European digital sovereignty, which is another topic that I personally have spoken on in EuroDIG a number of years ago, particularly on internet fragmentation. And I think it is incredibly topical at this point where trust in the multilateral process in particular seems to have waned, and what the multi-stakeholder process, what this means for the multi-stakeholder process and how we can sort of improve that is something that is worth discussing as well, particularly in the context of how Europe can sort of solidify its position with respect to digital governance affairs. But yeah, those are my 2 cents and introducing the topic, and glad to be here, glad to be working with everyone. I think this is as everyone has mentioned before, a very, very well balanced, but also very topical a series of main sessions and other events that we've decided to put forward. And as Sandra mentioned, an entirely new era of internet governance awaits us. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Isan. Regina, please go ahead. Regina is from EuroDIG registry and representing the host in this call.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Indeed, I'm representing here EuroDIG as the host. As Sandra mentioned, it's not the first time EuroDIG is the host of EuroDIG in Brussels. But certainly this edition is very special, also due to our institutional partner, cooperation partner, the European Commission. So we will have this, we will be able to invite the guests in this prime location. Maybe just a quick note to what was said about like the fear that the MEPs might take over our sessions. We believe it would be very useful if at least some come. However, we have to keep in mind that this is a week wherein it's a green week of the European Parliament, first of all, and it's a week with a public holiday. So we already got signals that for the MEPs, it will be very difficult, if not impossible, to come because they have already their trips to homes or other international trips. But whoever can reach out to the European Parliament and invite some people, it will be definitely very useful to have this representation as well. This cooperation with the European Commission has other very good, let's say, side effects. One of them being the fact that we will have access to all the great services of the Charlemagne building, including technical equipment, including translation, interpretation services if necessary, but also including a banner. So we will have a big banner on the building, which is really amazing, and we were very happy about it to advertise the conference and .eu's 20th anniversary. Maybe I will just quickly explain the idea behind the 3 pre-sessions on Tuesday morning, which EuroDIG will be hosting. Our idea is that the first session will be a kind of retrospective on .eu. We can take it also a bit broader, CCTLDs in Europe and their importance. And then in the second half, we would like to give space to our partners, including UNESCO, ICANN, EUIPO, also our members, and have it like as a session, first of all, of course, to celebrate .eu's 20th anniversary, but also to celebrate the partnership which exists in the field of let's say, European DNS. Then the second one will also tackle some of the, let's say, issues which were submitted by different members or by different participants. It will tackle and excuse me, and discuss the strategic sovereignty. We want to bring in the panel representatives of space, chips industry. Like it should be a discussion around European industry and strategic sovereignty. And then maybe I can mention it here, but we still wait for a confirmation. We have a keynote speaker with whom we are in touch who would tackle quantum, so that the topic, which was so important last year, would not be lost either. And it would be like a bridge between the previous session and then for the afternoon. So I think for a brief introduction, this is sufficient. Thank you very much. Of course, if there are some questions, I can answer them.
Thank you very much, Regina, for giving those insights. And one reason why this cooperation between EuroD and EuroDIG is so fruitful, you mentioned your partners like UNESCO, ICANN, etc. They are also EuroDIG's long-standing partners. So indeed, we are kind of really creating good synergies that we can include our partners to a great extent from both sides, from EuroD side and from EuroDIG. And one partner, very important in all this, is of course the European Commission, and very happy that Martina, who's also part of the program committee and gives us a lot of assistance in organizing it, is here on this call. Martina, you have the floor. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Sandra. And I will be very brief because I think we're here in listening mode and to listen to everybody's very interesting contribution today. But just to express our excitement for this event, we are very grateful that EuroDIG is taking place in Brussels this year with the 20 years of .eu, but also, the end of the WSIS Plus 20 process and this beginning of a new IG decade that really matters to us as well. So we're happy that we were able to provide the venue, and we truly look forward to seeing a lot of exciting discussion then. Just maybe to reassure everybody that indeed we don't plan the lobbying or EU crowd to take over the event. I think we know that EuroDIG has its own soul, and we try to combine everything and make sure that everybody finds its space. But I agree with both in congratulating the program committee. I think this is a very good program and balanced, and also EuroDIG masterclasses sounds very interesting. So we're really truly excited for this. And we look forward to seeing everybody in Brussels. And if there is any issue or any concern, there's myself or my colleague Hubert as well from the European Commission who will be working closely with EuroDIG and EuroDIG.
Thank you very much, Martina. And also let me thank you for all the assistance that you and also colleagues from EuroDIG are giving us in organizing this. It's really wonderful, very harmonic collaboration so far. I hope it stays the way. Okay. Anyone else that would like to? And I see already in the chat that there's a lot of confirmation on organizing a virtual session on, I think that was on the WSIS Plus 20 review, so that we kind of lead to our sessions during EuroDIG with a pre-event already. I think that's an idea that we could indeed take up if this finds support by the community. Who else would like to speak? I encourage again also the program committee to explain a little bit more in details about your findings. What did you, or also Francis and Isan, how you perceive this from a youth perspective, if you feel adequately heard, what you expect from the community that youth is adequately involved, because this is always a discussion, how to best involve youth. EuroDIG is one thing, but involving young people in the organizing of a session is another thing. This is something possibly we would like to hear about. Since Inga is here from Lithuania, being a host 2 years ago, maybe you have an idea on how EuroDIG developed topical-wise from 2 years ago, how the proposals are different now. You have quite a good recollection on the program. But also Minda is here on the call. She and Uriu, you are both responsible for topics that appear on the agenda again and again. So what is different this year when we include online safety and platforms again? I'm just bringing up those questions that I believe could be asked on behalf of the community, but I invite again everyone in this call to come up with questions. And now I see 3 hands. Fantastic. So Isan, Inga, and Uriel.
Thanks, Sandra. Just very quickly, because I've already taken up a little bit of speaking time on my own, the areas that I was involved with collating and putting forward on the subject of youth. I think one of the aspirations of EuroDIG and any youth program in any internet governance sort of setting has always been not only to engage in capacity building and make sure that the young people are aware of what's going on in this sort of space because it directly impacts them, but B, the main aspiration and what I hopefully represent, and what other youth stakeholders over here, like Francesco, who's also on call, who I've had the wonderful opportunity to be able to interact with in the EuroDIG setting before, is to create sustainable future participation, not just as young individuals, but as individuals in our own sort of capacity who also can interact with the rest of the stakeholders at an equal footing. And hopefully that is something that we've been able to inculcate. I know Nadia is on the call as well, and she's done an absolutely excellent job in getting people interested and sustainably in a committed way involved in internet governance discussions. And I think that points to the success of the EuroDIG program. And that's something that we should all aspire to. So definitely, we've always considered the youth perspective in terms of the actual session proposals and workshops and things themselves. But more than that, being able to provide us with that forum and that confidence and also that knowledge to be able to engage with everyone at an equal footing and to recognize that, hey, there are young people who are now also ready to take on the mantle in the future is the real sort of benefit and success of having youth participation in the program committee. So I'll stop there, but just wanted to highlight that that is the ultimate point of why we are here.
Inga, kindly take the floor.
Sandra, you were muted. Yeah. So, hello, colleagues. It's really a pleasure to see familiar faces and also new ones. I think also I'm the best proof that whenever you get into EuroDIG, so you don't get out, because it's still amazes me actually how the EuroDIG evolves through years, and also how even in the program we see that it reflects the realities, actually what's going on, the processes, starting with, like for this year, starting with WSIS outcomes, and also AI values and possible threats. So this is reflected in the program. And this is, I think that this builds this balanced approach that colleagues mentioned several times before. I think every place, every host gives additional flavor or additional push for the EuroDIG for the next cycle, for the next steps. So I'm really thrilled that this year EuroDIG will be hosted by the Commission and EURID in Brussels. So I think that in addition to those maybe concerns about the Brussels effect on the EuroDIG, I think there's also a huge opportunity to have these steps forward and evolve in the positive way. Now, talking about the program, I think some colleagues already mentioned some specificities of the program. It's really good to see it put in one place as the whole and evaluate the program as the whole. And we already heard that it looks balanced. And I think that just several comments were received, proves that. But also when working further on the program and shaping specific sessions, we also have to look how the different elements relate among themselves. Not to duplicate it, to avoid duplications, but also maybe to focus on the main aspects, the main thematic focus, so that the program would build and the discussion would build the most value. So clustering the proposals, I think it was important to figure out the main keywords. But if you look at the program, for example, the democracy and the public sphere are the keywords that are reflected in many places and many elements of the programs, but also mentioned in the proposals. So this is a bit of challenge for the org team, actually, to avoid this duplication, but somehow to refine those aspects that are relevant
from the proposals, and actually to build a discussion in the most interesting and effective way. I also would agree, I think, with a colleague who mentioned about the messages, that when building the messages or like formulating the messages after the discussions, we should also look at some action or like some objective of the discussion, not just summarize. So I think this is also good thing, but I think we already started last year to do that. So I think that if we continue, this will be really beneficial for EuroDIG. It's a pity that it's maybe shorter this time, but at the same time it gives some discipline and somehow like make it more focused. So I'm really looking forward for the next steps to work on the program further on, and meeting you again in virtually and physically in Brussels. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Inga. And indeed, it's you can see already an evolution on the program from Vilnius through Strasbourg to Brussels. Now I have a number of hands raised, which is Uriye, Minda, Francesco, Andre, and Francis. In that order, please go ahead.
Thank you, Sandra. Yeah, you said a moment ago that some topics appear on the program year after year. That's true at the headline level, but at the same time, a lot of things happens inside and sort of motivates for taking them up. And certainly, in this case, talk about safeguarding the public sphere, safeguarding democracy. A few years ago, we talked about the impact of social media platforms and so on, so on the traditional media and so on and so forth. But over the years, they become worrying more and more about what happens with public sphere, which is really the foundation of a democracy. And so there is a development and sort of motivates taking up these things year after year. And of course, this opening session, safeguarding Europe's democracy and its digital public sphere, this public sphere is mediated more and more digitally, and it's subject to rapid development, which can be good and can be bad. And somehow the decision whether the technological development like AI, what it actually will mean, how it will be used, those decisions, unfortunately, are not taken in Europe alone. Most of them are actually taken outside. So in this session, in the opening session, we try to talk about how to safeguard this European public space, its integrity, its functioning, and what tools we could use to ensure pluralism and to make sure that the election coverage and everything connected to elections would not turn the wrong way, to tackle disinformation, counter foreign manipulation, and so on and so forth. So that's what the aim is with this. And of course, the opening session, it's true that many of these themes will be repeated later on. But our idea was that the opening session, we should sort of tackle these at a fairly high level and then go to the details later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Uriye. And indeed, we had a discussion. I can just emphasize in the program committee which topic should go in and we were also advised that a lot of discussions are happening every day in Brussels on certain topics, and that we really should try to make a difference. But basically, it's then up to the org teams to really work out what is the specific point that we would really like to discuss here, that the sessions are not remaining on a high level, but that they really concentrate on one aspect that is not a redundancy of past EuroDIGs and of discussions that are going on in that political space in Brussels anyway. Minda, you are next in the row.
Hello, everyone. It's Minda. I'm here representing one of the dynamic coalitions of the Internet Governance Forum, so the Internet Rights and Principles Coalition. And I've been involved with EuroDIG now for many years as well, and the last few years on the program committee. And obviously working on many of the themes and issues that we have been discussing for this EuroDIG. And I think that you're right. A lot of the themes or the issues we have been discussing in previous EuroDIGs. What I find interesting is that you can see it always from different perspectives. And obviously, the issues that we take to the program are the concerns or the issues that people, Europeans, bring to the table with their proposals. And this here, specifically on the area that I was covering, human rights, which is always a very strong issue area. We had themes or issues about non-discrimination, public sphere, so online participation, children's rights, online violence, disinformation and misinformation, and so on. So privacy, trust, digital security. So all these obviously are ongoing human rights issues, but you can see that the perspective changes. So for instance, we have one proposal or one workshop on gender-based online violence that obviously online violence has been around for many years, but it is a very specific issue this time. All the misogyny that goes online, the deep fakes, with AI and so on. So, specific groups are targeted, or in this case, gender. So this is a little bit of a different perspective in the program, or on children or children's safety and children's rights. You can see that now you have the whole issue of banning social media. And so it's a different perspective from other years where we were discussing different things. So I think, yes, that is overlapping with the programs, but that is an evolution. And I think that is the evolution is really important. And I can see from Vilnius to now, we go not just from the kind of balancing innovation, then human rights last year, now a very big focus on democracy and the public sphere. And just to give an example, for instance, on platforms, that is another workshop that we have. So maybe 20 years ago, we were discussing how platforms are so important to promote democracy, right, with the Arab Spring and everything. And these years, the last few years, and now specifically, we are bringing the concerns of these platforms and social media undermining democracy and the public sphere. So it's a completely different perspective and very enriching. And I believe that the program is very balanced. Even though there are topics that possibly overlap, I think the angles are very important. And then so on the same aspect, we are looking that, okay, there is this topic, but you can see it from different perspectives. And so at the end of the EuroDIG, you will have a much more balanced view on the different kind of topics. And lastly, I was going to refer to what Inga said about the action points. I believe that is also very important. I think we talked about it already last year and the years before, but that the messages are not just theoretical messages, but they are actually action points or policy recommendations. So I think that is really important too. And I think that was all I wanted to say about the program. So I am really happy. I think the proposals were quite strong. So it was not that difficult to come with this very balanced and strong program. So well done to everyone that sent the proposals as well.
Thank you very much, Minda. And since you mentioned the evolution of topics, for instance, on the example on platforms, for those who are not too familiar with EuroDIG, and I see a lot of names that are possibly never been involved in EuroDIG, I would really recommend you to visit our wiki, which is basically the archive. And if you type in a keyword, let's say platforms, you will get the sessions from the past years, and you can really see how the discussion evolved from, as Minda said, from something where we expected a huge push for democracy and are basically now having concerns whether platforms are still supporting democracy. So those who would really like to dig a little bit deeper, and in particular, this is important for org teams. And thank you, Andre. You just posted the link to the wiki in the chat. Those who would really like to learn a bit more how a certain discussion developed on a certain topic, the wiki is the place. You will not only find messages, you also find recordings, transcripts, org teams, session teasers, and everything. We are really proud to have maintained that wiki over the years. Since the very early day of EuroDIG, you will find everything that is available. Francesco, you're next, and then Andre, Francis, Desara, and Wout.
No, very quick because I already stole enough of your time. I mean, I don't want to be misunderstood. I literally work in the EU bubble lobbying and advocacy field. So, of course, I do see plenty of opportunities, and something that I thought was unfortunately missing from the last EuroDIGs. I joined EuroDIG in 2023 for the first time. In fact, is exactly a more vibrant participation by governments and politicians. I do see that Brussels can be a very crucial turning point in this regard. I'm just more concerned about balance in sessions. Just to mention an example, I think it's main topic 4 about platforms engaging to strengthen digital public sphere. I would like not only to see representatives from the Commission, from the Parliament, from the main big tech companies in the field, but I would like to see someone maybe from the civic tech sector or someone from the Fediverse. I mean, this is the kind of I hope that I provided a better understanding of what I was saying earlier. So just let's be sure that we strike a balance of all stakeholders, so we just don't go fully on political institutions. And the second point is that when it comes to youth engagement and participation, I mean, Brussels is probably one of the most attractive cities for young professionals, at least in Europe. There are plenty of them here. There are also universities. So I think that this is mostly a conversation about communication and outreach. But that depends on the resources that EuroDIG has, or all the partners involved have, in order to reach to them. In this regards, I was a Blue Book trainee last year. So I guess it's a bit tricky to promote this among the European Commission networks, but for example, just reaching out to the Blue Book trainees or the other institutional trainees for participating, that would be already a huge asset in terms of the participation to EuroDIG. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Francesco. Andre is next in the row.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is André Melancia from Portugal. Apologies for disappearing last year. Things happen, like work. Most of my intervention today is about logistics, not so much about the sessions. I think that's going well. I know that this year we're going to have a smaller venue, a bit more limited in terms of people, etc. A number of people anyway. But I remember 10 years ago, it went well. So when you mentioned some of the politicians, etc., I think it went well last year or 10 years ago. But I also do remember that the venue was very big 10 years ago. There was a lot of room for networking, especially networking. And one of the main focuses of EuroDIG, at least for me, is the networking part, being able to talk to other people from other points of Europe and to share experiences and to get something out of it in general. So I think that even though we have less rooms and a lot more limitation, it would be great to have some space, some kind of space for networking in general during the events. Okay, that is one. Now the second one might be a bit more difficult because it requires statistics. Uh, so 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I got to see firsthand how EuroDIG worked. All of the young people that were there, how they participated in the main event. This was really quite amazing. And I feel like all of them participated a lot in flash sessions, in workshops, but also in the main topics, of course. So reducing those topics might lead to a bit less interest from some of the younger generations because they will be limited to one of 3 topics at any given time. So that could be a limitation. But also, my other question is a bit more on the lines of Sandra mentioned just before that there were something like 450 applicants. Out of that, you get 30, which is a completely crazy small number. What happens to the other ones? Historically, in the previous years, what happened to the other applicants that submitted and did not get accepted? Because again, if the numbers are anything close to this, it is a very big number. Did they still attend EuroDIG in person, remotely, etc.? Did they participate later? I know that this is a question you will not be able to answer during this call, but I think that this is something that should be, you should dig deeper into this situation and figure out if anyone who got rejected to go to EuroDIG still participated in the events that year or maybe a different year. So this is something to consider, because I think that even though many of them, most of them, and this will be 95% of them will get rejected, I think it's still a good idea to make sure that they are still able to participate and encourage their participation. Thank you.
Absolutely, very valid point, in particular the last one. And I would like to ask Nadja, who already turned on the camera, to take that on. On the logistics, I just would like to reassure, the good thing is that we will have a served lunch, which is organized by EuroDIG, and a 90-minute lunch break right in front of the conference room. So there will be very short ways. We are not getting lost. Basically, the whole crowd will be together all the time, and only the workshop rooms are 1 or 2 levels down, but the main foyer, let's so to say, where the catering takes place, is really a space where you can really not escape from each other, and where networking is absolutely easy. And on the last day, we will also try to organize one of those light-white social events where we invite for the first drink and then everyone just comes. So this will be also announced. And what else is planned on the social side is up to Europe to decide. I know there are things in the planning, but before I hand over to the line of participants, I would just ask Nadja to briefly take up the question from Andre, because I know activities are going on in this regard.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this question because it really highlights how important it is that we continue fostering youth participation, even when young people are not capable of accessing the resources that are available. So this year we have over 400 applicants, and over the past few years we have been thinking about, well, there's so many applicants, we can only offer 30. So what happens with all the others who have expressed an interest? So in the last 3 years, what we've been doing is that everybody that comes from a particular country, so let me say Germany, for example, all German applicants then get forwarded to the German IGF. So then I look up when is the next German IGF, or like look up their website or anything like that, and I send them information about, how to get involved with the German IGF or how to get involved with the Italian IGF, etc. Depending how well I know the local youth IGF coordinators, sometimes they are willing to set up their own kind of online event. So, for example, Haris from Greece, he organized a session for kind of perspective for people who wanted to come to EuroDIG to learn more about the Internet Governance Forum that is happening in Greece. He invited them to come and join them there. And so that also like they got to meet and see him, so that they wouldn't feel like strangers when they come on site, that they did have purpose. And so, and he then supported their continued participation in Internet governance. So we do try to like lead them back into national processes that they can contribute into those spaces. We do have sometimes people come to the IGF. So if you go to the EuroDIG wiki, you actually see an entire page about how you can continue your journey into Internet governance. It's not only about how you then go to the Internet Governance Forum, but also into other different spaces like ISOC, like ICANN, and Mozilla, the Mozilla Fest and things like that. So we do then encourage people like, look, if you cannot come to a national, if there is no national IGF and you cannot come to the global IGF, you can go into all these different spaces. And for those who do turn up on site at the IGF, we do always recommend people in our letter when we give the results that we do have a EuroDIG booth at the IGF, and you can come and meet Sandra or Rainer or myself at the booth to learn more about the EuroDIG community, and to kind of, usually there are many EuroDIG community members that kind of hang around the booth, and then they will recommend sessions, or it's on the EuroDIG website what kind of sessions are being organized by the EuroDIG community, so that they feel like, oh, this is a session that I can go to and meet people who are familiar with the topics or of my community, to kind of find and build community. And usually I tell them, don't hesitate to let me know when you're on site. And I do have lunches with people that didn't manage to get into the program. And so this is how we, at the moment, continue fostering participation of young people, but primarily supporting them into getting involved in their national IGFs is our main priority at this stage. I hope that if you have any other suggestions and ideas, that you come back, because it would be wonderful to see more people getting involved in their communities.
Thank you so much, Nadia. There's nothing I could add. Francis, Desara, and Wout.
Hi, my name is Francis. I did EuroDIG last year and I really loved it, and I'm very much feel part of the EuroDIG EuroDIG group, and it has made me incredibly interested. And so, yeah, that's the first thing. A big shout out to Nadia and the rest of the EuroDIGgers. I think on the question of trying to make sure that the EuroDIG perspective is incorporated, I would say that actually when we're making the plan, to be aware of the EuroDIG messages from last year, because otherwise sometimes there might be a danger that we create and draft the messages and we have these 3 days of intensive discussion and thinking and learning and development, and then we come to the fact of making the messages, and I think the participation in the intergenerational dialogue, the expressing these messages at the European dialogue is very important, and I think that gets the messages across. But I think also to incorporate them in even the planning of this year would be an interesting thing, and I feel very lucky that I'm on the organizing team, so I can do that. But so for me, when I look at the program, I think like everyone else, it's a very nicely balanced program, and I think it's incredibly topical and also has the potential to be leading to tangible outcomes. I would say that my area of the program was access and literacy, and last time we met, I think both Mark and I agreed that the literacy point could have more of an emphasis, and we flagged the 27 and the 41 proposals as being part of this literacy category. My only, and I would also like to say that these two proposals in the area of literacy very closely aligned to the EuroDIG messages of last year, right? Because if you look on the wiki for the EuroDIG last year, we talked a lot about one, education, literacy with young people, and access, and the transparency of algorithms, the transparency of where content comes from, the plethora of information sources, and also things like, I think, there were panel discussions last year even about how we could possibly label content to make sure that young people and all people using the internet know where things are coming from, know the origin and the background. And this was something we were all very interested in, and something that if you look on the EuroDIG wiki, you'll see AI, everything AI, and there's things like content moderation, empowering of the user on algorithms, knowing where the algorithm has come from and why you're being showed things, and having the choice to get out of those algorithms. And I feel that the topic of 27 and 41 are very good. You've got a representative from Google who is now talking about things like C2PA and Synth ID, which are technologies that we didn't discuss last year. And I remember actually in a panel discussion with Janice from Snapchat, she was saying, like, couldn't watermarking be a thing? And now we have the technologies. And I think what I'm slightly worried about with the way the current plan is sorted is that those proposals that are in the literacy category, I think they happen at the same time as the WIS plus 20 conversation. And I'm a bit worried about how the clustering of individuals, because I think WIS is really on everyone's mind. And I'm slightly worried that the 27 and 41 are in other main topics, but I think we should just be careful that those ideas and concepts don't get drowned out, because they were in quite prominent in the EuroDIG messages of last year. Yes, so these two proposals look at European Democracy Action Plan and also the AI Act. And yeah, I think that the literacy point needs to be made. And I don't know if Mark agrees with me, but yeah. I think that they are strongly correlated with the EuroDIG messages of last year. And finally, I would say that I totally agree that EuroDIG participation is so important, even just at the level of how confident the EuroDIGgers are made to feel in asking questions during the workshops, because often you get, with this confidence comes the capacity to actually ask things even though you don't feel like an expert in the room. I thought it was very important in the EuroDIG last year that we were always told no one's an expert and you are just as an expert as other people, in the sense that you still have something to contribute in asking questions. So that I'm very grateful for, and I think conversations during panel discussions and after them with all the different stakeholders that are present is one of the key ways that I think the youth get empowered and also interested in these subjects. And I think, yeah, so that's all I'd say.
Thank you very much, Francis. And I know you advocated a lot in the program committee already for that aspect on literacy. And if you feel it is not adequately represented in the program, or you fear there are overlaps, I would strongly encourage you to take that also to the EuroDIG preparation, because what you discussed last year, and as you said, the tools are now existing that had been discussed last year. This is possibly something that youth could then continue discussing during EuroDIG and then bring it into the discussion of EuroDIG. This is actually really what we would like to foster, that the EuroDIG is not something excluded from the conference, but that it really brings up youth to participate meaningful then in the conference with their own findings and messages. Thank you so much for mentioning that. Next in the row is Desara, Wout, and then Francesco, a very last short word, because we are actually at the moment to have a break before we continue with the rest. But first Desara and then Wout.
Hello everyone, Desara Dushi, a program committee member. Just a quick introduction. I also come from EuroDIG from 10 years ago. So I see a comment here that old DIG people are scary for EuroDIG people, but you can see that I started from EuroDIG and now I feel like an old DIG because it's been 10 years already. And it wasn't really a scary process. It was actually an excellent process, so which I'm happy to be part of. I wanted to talk a little bit about the sessions on youth safety online. While I agree that we've been covering the same areas, at least for the past 10 years that I was part of it, and I was one of the main program committee members covering this area. I think that this provides continuity, like also the previous program committee members have mentioned, and we also at the same time keep up with the new developments. Like for example, this year, while in the past 10 years past years mainly, we have been focusing on the criminal law aspect of online child safety. We started in the last 3 years or so, we started shifting a bit the focus, also depending on the developments that were going on. So we've been covering age verification from the policy and also from the technical perspectives. And now this year, I was happy to see that we still have a lot of requests to cover online child safety. And we, in order to remove redundancy, still agreeing that despite the fact that for example, child safety online from the aspect of CSAM, so child sexual abuse, it's still an ongoing debate, but we have been covering it for a long time already. So this year we decided to focus mainly on social media age bans, which is again still a broad topic, and it includes issues of age verification, the digital ID wallets, which are piloting in the EU, online privacy, and a lot more. And with the Australian ban already showing some effects, and also with Commissioner Virkkunen announcing last week, and she will also be our keynote, by the way. She announced last week that the Commission is considering an EU-wide age ban. I think this is the best place and best time to cover this topic. And what is the most important thing is that we are planning to include youth on the panel as well.
Thank you very much, Desara, for putting this into context. It's really a question that was discussed in the program committee, whether we come up with that session again, but you just rightly explained the different aspects. Next is Wout, and then Francesco, and then we go for a break. Wout, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Sandra. Wout Natris, introducing myself this time. It's more or less represented the dynamic coalition of the IGF on Internet Standard Security and Safety. I think I want to come back what Minda said and a little bit about what Tusha just said, is that it is not really a change of how we look at a topic. If you go one step up, it is about how organizations, commercial organizations, handle the rights of their consumers, or whatever you would like to call them, their users, etc. If you go even one step up, it is how industry in general treats society. And that is a topic that if you look at just the internet standards that I deal with, everybody agrees that it would be a far more safer internet if these standards were adopted. But there's no pressure on industry to actually deliver. And that's the same with children's rights. It's the same with women's rights on the internet and protection, etc. And if you look at it more generally about how the environment is treated by industry, and somehow politics let them get away with it. And I think that is a topic that is not appropriate for EuroDIG, but it is the thing that we're talking about here when we're talking about protection of individuals online. And if we look at it from that angle, you get a different sort of discussion. Because then it's not just about women or gender or whatever you'd like to call it. It's about us all. And nowadays, and I think that's where the public sphere comes in, etc. In the main sessions. How are we going to organize ourselves in the future? Do we want to continue as we are, or do we think that the European Commission has to stop drawing a line? And not just forbid, for example, social media for 14 or 15-year-olds, but perhaps for everybody, and come up with a new structure. And I'm running very much ahead of a discussion here. I understand that, but it is, in the end, what we're talking about, protecting our democracy, protecting our rights, protecting our individual well-being. So I think that in that sense, it is much broader and a much higher level than just focusing on one little aspect, because if we focus on one little aspect, the rest get lost. So that's something for next year, perhaps. But we already have these elements in the discussion this year. And is that something we want to at least touch upon and invite people from the Commission to comment on these sort of topics? Or do we want to shy away and just focus on one aspect of this discussion? So let me throw in a little bomb into the discussion. Thanks.
Always happy to receive a bomb about, so we are not afraid of it. And before the break, the last word goes to Francesco.
Yeah, apologies. Very quickly, thank you, Francis, for raising the point of literacy. I think it's extremely important. And to be fair, this is probably the best time to discuss about that, because there has been the 2025 review of the digital decade that has shown also what were the outcomes of that project. And the Commission is started working on the academies with the latest Digital Europe programs. So I think it's a compelling issue to touch upon.
Thank you very much, Francesco. We are now 15 minutes beyond our announced break, and I would suggest, since there are no, or the program as such is not really challenged by the participants, that after the break we go for or I explain a little bit more in detail on how we move on with regards to the messages, forming the org teams, etc. It also gives everyone here on this call a little bit of time to reflect on what just has been discussed, and that would be the last chance before we declare the program to be consolidated. We should also have a final look at the comments we received in the commenting period. And I would suggest you leave all your computers on. I will just mute myself and turn off the camera. And we are reconvening here in 15 minutes from now, which is 3 o'clock Central European time and 2 o'clock UTC. So that's in 15 minutes. And I hope we are at the moment 47 people, quite a lot. So I hope after the break we will almost be the same. And I don't think we will need another 1.5 hours, but we can be really a bit shorter with the logistics and how to get involved. So see you in 15 minutes. And I just mute and turn off the camera. Okay, so I see indeed everyone is, or many are back. And I would first like to ask, upon your reflection, is there something that that came to your mind during the break where you said, this is actually something I would like to mention right now? Then you have the chance to do now, but I will also ask later on again. Jack, super. Go ahead.
Well, hello, everybody. And sorry, I only joined after the first hour, so I may have missed something. But just one thing, and I had the opportunity to look once again in detail at the suggested plan. And something strikes me that the data as such is, I don't find the word data nowhere on the full program. And I'm just wondering, where is it wrapped? Because we all know that data is somehow, the new most important thing almost, because without data, no AI. And AI we know now for a fact, but where are the data coming from, all these aspects that go with it, be it from non-discrimination until what is it really worth and what does it mean for business? So I'm just wondering, where is data?
I would encourage the org team to take up that question. From my non-expertise point of view, I would say data is in every session somehow covered, whether that is the discussion on platform or on online safety, but also on AI or so. Since we are in Europe and very much care about our data, I do believe it will be the underlying topic for many sessions. But I might be wrong, and I'd rather invite the org team, sorry, the program committee to take that on. Minda.
Hi, Jack, and hi, everyone. Yes, I think, Sandra, you're right. Data is everywhere. So we don't mention it anymore because it's there. So when you talk about privacy, is all about data privacy. When you talk about children and online safety, is all about their data as well. So data is basically ingrained, is part of each of the topics. So it's possible that you have something that is called data in trust, maybe not, but it is there. Data is everywhere. I think that's just what I can say, because obviously it's probably not part of the titles, but there would be no point discussing anything if you don't discuss data, because that's what we have online, right? But maybe we could make it a little bit highlighted a little bit more if you feel that would be necessary.
Yeah, indeed, it's not nowhere mentioned, but as said on one of the slides, those titles are working titles, so it's up to the respective org team to define the final title, and if they are coming up with something that goes into that direction, why not? Jack, you want to reply on this?
Yes, the reason why I'm also asking it, and I fully agree, it's in everything, and it might also be not too bad to have just a buzzword somewhere also in it. And the reason why I'm looking at that is, well, I'm in the board as for representing the stakeholder business. And for business, this is really the interesting thing. How do we handle business and what is worth of it, and how do you make money with it whatsoever? So to bring in business also into the EuroDIG might not be bad, just some kind of for advertisement to say, well, we know it's also about data. So might just help.
Okay, thank you very much, Jacques. And if not in the title, then at least in the session description. And as someone who represents business, this should, I mean, we would of course invite the business community to be part of it.
Yes, exactly. May I just finish? Yes,
Yeah.
yes, because well, business are looking also and whether what's in for us in there, and there might be just everywhere a little bit thinking of not shying away and saying, well, business is basically the problem, and we are looking for the solution against business. It might be rather good to phrase it in a way that business is coming to the table.
Good point. We have now 3 hands raised: Minda, Regina, and Isan.
Yes, I think that, as you were saying, Sandra, data will come up in the subtitles or possibly in the titles as we go along, but definitely on each of almost every description. Because at least from what I've seen on the part of the issues related to human rights, data came in every single proposal. So as data and privacy, security. So yes, it will be there.
Regina?
Thank you. I wanted to support Sandra and Minda also from the perspective of a technical track, where of course, be it the session which aims to focus on EuroDIG business wallet or DNSSEC and other tools, how to prevent online harms. This is definitely an important part of it. I also wanted to brainstorm or check with Jacques if he would find it a good topic to take under the wings of the Dynamic Coalition on Data and Trust, and maybe join some of the virtual pre-events to give it like a bigger visibility, and maybe also as a preparation or which would then lead into the various sessions during EuroDIG. That maybe we could think about something like this. Thank you.
Thanks, Regina. And with regard to the dynamic coalitions, we are thinking about offering some space for a booth or so. So we will reach out to the dynamic coalitions, whether they are interested in this respect or not. Rainer will follow up on this. Isan.
Thanks, Sandra. Sorry, my camera's going to remain off because it's lunchtime and I was in the middle of eating a sandwich. There's no graceful way to eat a sandwich, so I'll just leave it closed for now. But I think that's a very, very important point. And just to reassure, so the topic of digital sovereignty as well includes a pretty important part of that subset is on data-related sovereignty. I think it is also a main session that may potentially interest and intrigue a lot of business stakeholders, primarily because part of a substantial part of a lot of the proposals that came in wanted to focus on whether there is a push for European stakeholders, whether that be business stakeholders or governmental stakeholders, to Europeanize or slightly adopt, European or open source technologies and infrastructures to safeguard critical European assets, whether that be digital infrastructures, whether that be data. That sort of debate and discussion is going to be had in that main topic. So, of course, digital sovereignty is a catch-all to encompass both data as well as, for example, rights, rules and legislation, technologies that are being utilized in public services, and so on. So it is definitely something that potentially would be of interest to business stakeholders. But yeah, I just felt like calling that out as well, because it's not, I guess, immediately obvious from the topic that quite a lot of the subtopics and proposals focused on the business angle of it.
Yeah. Basically, that makes me think about one of the weaknesses of this collaborative session planning is that the final title that might attract businesses and other stakeholders appears just before the conference. So we would really need everyone's help here. If you have networks where you could spread the call, how that all works, and basically actively invite them to become part of an org team or join EuroDIG, so that we really get those stakeholders engaged. But because even if they are not part of the org team, they can still be part of the discussion on the conference. So this really needs all of us to spread the word, because I see the point the program is or remains vague or not so clear. But that is this is the collaborative session planning. Otherwise, there would be a program committee that comes up with everything ready cooked, and this is not the approach the IGF type of conferences are following. Jack, do you want to finish on that, or do you have? Okay, then please go ahead.
Yes, just very briefly to finish off the business aspect. Just to remind that, well, business is not business. So when business in these circumstances is mentioned, it's mostly meant tech business. So the bad harvesters and so on. But that the tech consumer, the business consumer, he should be brought to the EuroDIG. So whether Amazon or Google or one of these big bad boys may come or not, then it would be lobbying. But actually, we are not looking where we need not to invite the lobbyists, but we need to invite those who are looking for questions, which are just daily businesses, the employers that need to somehow cope with digitalization as well. So this is what I mean with business that we should bring to the table.
Yeah. Thank you, Chuck, for that clarification. I think this is well understood, and I can say, and maybe Regina chimes in, that the membership of EuroDIG exists on organizations like consumer organizations or Business Europe or SME United. So, and EuroDIG as the host will definitely bring in those organizations as well, and they are already aware of it. Maybe Regina, if you want to follow up, feel free to do so.
I can just confirm, Sandra, yes, indeed. And including our partners, like we have also with EuroDIG joint partners via EIF, for example, the European Internet Forum, which includes these, let's say, good guys businesses.
Yeah. Or EU IPO is another
or EU IPO, yes,
new
exactly.
player that we might see. So thanks to the structure of EuroDIG and the membership, we might see indeed some new players in order to cover that gap that businesses sometimes creates in organizing these events. Anything else that you would like to mention after the break? Minda?
Yes, but it is just a question on the opening plenary session. And I was just wondering if you want to safeguard European democracy in digital public sphere. I know it's not the title yet, but just looking at the angle, if you want to safeguard it or enhance it. So when it comes to the online, so is it that we perceive the threat, or that you want to look at the potentialities of using it as a tool to enhance? So it was just a thought that I had during the break looking at the program.
Okay, thank you, Minda. And I see Martina has raised her hand. Possibly that is on exactly that point. Martina?
No, it's a very, very good question from Minda. I think we were coming at it from the perspective of indeed like technology development, like, deep fakes, AI manipulation, algorithmic bias, centralized platforms, presenting challenges in terms of, public sphere and democracies, but it could also be both. And we could also try to look at it from a more positive angle. I think we could maybe change it in a slightly more positive flavor. But I think it was merely a way to try to capture, in a technology neutral way, some of the challenges that we're seeing arising at the moment.
Thank you, Martina. I think we keep that in mind in our program committee. The opening plenary is traditionally with the host and the cooperation partner. So assuming the European Commission will be very much behind it, but also inviting, of course, others. But we keep that in mind, and it's good that you brought it up, Minda. Anyone else with these kind of questions or other questions? While you might still be thinking about it, I would just like to draw again your attention to the comments we received in the public comment period. You see, it's not much for comments, out of which 3 are sort of support. And yes, please consider us. We would like to be involved, which is good. But one proposal came from Marta Morayas Diaz from DNS.pt, and she suggested to have some discussions on EU legislation, for instance, the NIS2 directive, or the obligations that a CCTLD has to undergo in the national frameworks. The digital omnibus that was brought up last year is one of the topics. Since we do not really have many of those, or I mean, we have some sessions related to DNS issues and some questions were definitely touched upon. I could imagine, and this is something that we from the Secretariat will follow up, sorry, that this possibly could be something where we organize online sessions before EuroDIG, so that some of these questions can be for particular the stakeholder group of CCTLDs, which are, by the way, our biggest donors altogether. So the donations for the Secretariat are coming to a very great extent from CCTLDs. So I would suggest that we really follow up with this within the program committee and consider organizing some online session on some or all of these questions. Otherwise, there's nothing else in the comments that would change our approach that we took so far. Asking again questions or comments, thoughts from your side? Because if this is not the case, then I would continue. Olivier, that you raised your hand. Welcome, Olivier.
Yeah, thanks very much, Sandra. Olivier Crapalblon speaking. No, just to say, it's very difficult to comment, on just the titles, and some of those are very broad indeed. So I agree with you that we do need to focus and to. I also like the Jacques idea of also getting those titles to also be very enticing for the business community as well as everyone else on those. But yeah, I like the program. I think it's balanced, and yeah, it's a great job for the committee to have been able to put this together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Olivier. So I continue with the messages now. For those that are familiar with EuroDIG, there is actually no need to explain it further, but for those that are new, the messages are the main outcome of the annual EuroDIG. The funny thing is, EuroDIG produces messages since the very, very first meeting that took place in 2008 at the Council of Europe. So we do have messages from Strasbourg from 2008 already. And last year we had messages from Strasbourg volume 2, let's say. And this year we will have messages from Brussels volume 2 because EuroDIG took place in Brussels already. Many of the national and regional IGFs, including the global IGF, have later on taken over that concept of drafting messages because messages are a non-binding and non-negotiated outcome. And this is important here because in the mandate of the IGF, it is not foreseen to come up with resolutions on a negotiated outcome or what's alike. So therefore, messages is a lightweight outcome, but it still reflects the discussion, and there should be a rough consensus with the audience. Drafting the messages should be done by a person who acts in a very neutral way. So no one who has a personal interest in getting in certain messages into the document, but really someone who is able to follow the discussion and then condense the essence in 3 or 4 maximum bullet points. And we will have time at the end of the main sessions at least, and I would also encourage workshops to do so, that by the end of each session, the program committee member that is kind of taking the patronage for the session will have the time to read out the messages that he or she compiled. and it should be asked if they are in rough consensus with the audience. Rough consensus means if no one has strong objections, those messages are agreed. After EuroDIG, the messages should not change, only some linguistic changes should be made, but the essence of the message should not be touched. And as it was said already here by others in this call, we should really come up with some proposals for goals or for activities that we can forward to policymakers. We should offer something that is forward-looking, and of course, we should relate to European internet governance policy. So this is really something that is important. Many people question, the usefulness of these messages, but on the other hand, speaking from a secretariat's point of view, the messages are not just the messages from the session, they also summarize the discussion that had been taken place also on a keynote level, also on a preparation level, from the call for issues to the participants on the ground. So it's basically also a conference report or a report of more than half of a year of process that led to the annual conference. So when reporting on funds that we receive, the messages are a very elementary part of it and are deemed necessary because this is what our donors at the end would like to see. Whether they are taken into account by the policymakers, as we would hope, that is another story, but I would assume that everyone who attends a EuroDIG goes back with more knowledge than it was the case before. And that knowledge or the discussion that are held in these conferences, they have an influence on the individual when the individual is back on the desk and organizing or making legislation or going into depth of the work. So it's hardly to measure the impact that messages have, but on the other hand, it's equally important to draft them. And we have a concept of drafting them that we tried several things. Francesco, who just raised hand, was, and in 1 year, I think that was your entry point of to EuroDIG, drafting messages. So if you would like to continue on that, Francesco, please.
Yes, of course, I was going to continue that. In fact, being asked to report on EuroDIG is the reason why I happen to know EuroDIG, and thanks to Sandra and Nadia for providing me with this opportunity in 2023. Since I was a rapporteur for a couple of years, I just have a couple of questions. The first one is if, as far as I can understand, EuroDIG is taking place in Charlemagne building, which is the same as the high-level conference on the future of Internet 4.0. If I remember correctly, there was already a system that, since everyone has the microphone, was able to provide an AI-based summary of the discussion. But I also, as far as I can remember, that system causes some issues during that specific conference. Like the outcomes of that AI system were not really appreciated. So this is just a question out of curiosity. Would you like to go back to manual writing of the summary or the messages, or would you like to integrate some other systems? In case which, or did you already have the chance to discuss about this? Because I guess, the infrastructure of the room would allow for massive AI support, which is of course fine, but at the same time, probably the governance of this procedure must be discussed a bit. And the second thing is, of course, related to the messages, but I would say it is related to the wiki page as well. Probably, as you already said, Sandra, one of the greatest assets of EuroDIG is exactly its massive knowledge base, which gathers almost 20 years of discussions about these topics. And beyond resolutions or anything, as you were saying, probably what we need to explain, especially in Brussels this time, is exactly this. So EuroDIG is one of the key actors in the field because it has mapped and kept track of all the discussions happening in internet governance and more broadly in the digital field in the last 20 years. So this is really value, and probably political representatives or even people from public administrations can find there something that is not so easily retrievable elsewhere. And now in an age of AI, like it's so simple to just download in bulk a few PDFs of the messages of all the EuroDIG that took place in the last almost 20 years, or even to just ask an AI to analyze a wiki page to find out this information. So I think that this might be, in fact, one of the key points for promotion for EuroDIG in the process, because it's going to be extremely, because unfortunately most people in the political bubble don't even know about EuroDIG, even though they work on digital governance. And this is a pity, because believe me, since I have been into EuroDIG, I referred to EuroDIG messages several times through my work, at least as a starting point. So I would discuss about the messages in two different ways, but yes.
Thank you, Francesco. Indeed, we could do more in terms of outreach and engaging new communities, but I must really say this is a matter of resources. We could be more prominently attending several events in the Brussels bubble, or so on and so forth, and promote EuroDIG and the messages, but that requires resources that at the moment we don't have. So we really rely on you as the community, and Francesco, thanks for doing this, to spread the word about the wiki, the messages, the EuroDIG, and whatsoever. So this is really something that we heavily rely on, because otherwise, we would not be able to do so.
Yes, and quickly on this, Sandra, before leaving the floor, of course, I'm happy to help. So if you want maybe to have a separate call and I can share with you some of my little knowledge about the Brussels bubble, I'm of course happy to help.
Absolutely. What we did in the past, for instance, I put messages in every letterbox of a parliamentarian in the parliament. I have no idea what kind of result this has. On drafting the messages, we will again reach out to the Geneva Internet Platform, who is helping us with AI tools. But at the end of the day, it will remain a human sitting behind the document and drafting the messages that come out of a session. And we believe that the program committee, that was the case how it worked last year, is very much capable, because they are following the session already. They know where it comes from, and then they can then extract the temperature of the room from just being something that has been said and transfer that into the messages. So it worked quite well. Last year we provided templates. They were instantly available on the screen, and everyone could have a look at it. And it worked well in last year. I would suggest we continue this way. If anyone, however, has a different approach or idea, we are always open to discuss this. It will not be the Secretariat deciding on this. It will be then discussed in the program committee, and if necessary, also then brought to the community. Martina, you have raised your hand.
Yeah, just to acknowledge, first of all, since I was organizing the conference last year, I'm sorry, I wasn't even aware about the technical issues, but there was no AI used at all. I think you mentioned live captioning, maybe, Francesco, was not AI based.
Okay, sorry, I was just wrong. Okay, I was under the assumption that some of those summaries were made through AI, because probably I just heard the rumor in the room, but if I'm wrong, I'm happy to have been...
No, I mean, there were interpretation in different languages, and we're aware that sometimes the interpretation was a bit difficult because not everybody's used to speak slowly. Like I'm also not a slow speaker, and the interpreters had some difficulties at times. But I think we will not be able to use in any event the same system as last year. So I hope that whichever issue there was last year will not be reproducing this year, just to reassure you. And if there is any feedback on that, please let us know. We will look into that, of course.
But Martina, you said captioning was provided at this conference on virtual worlds. Will that be the case again? Because that also helps already.
But Sandra, we need to look at your emails. We need to discuss video conferencing tools.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, anything else on the messages? And feel free to reach out to us if something comes to your mind later on. Then I continue to the next slide, which is our timeline. So after today's call, we expect to have the consolidated program as soon as possible. And from what my feeling is, there won't be significant changes to the program. We might consider that proposal that came from our Portuguese colleagues to organize online sessions. And I also read here with half an eye in the chat about the idea of lightning talks that could possibly then take place in the breaks. Since flash sessions are not foreseen this year in the program, that could be indeed an idea, but I think it needs a little bit more of coordination between the host, who is organizing the catering, and the European Commission, who has the better knowledge of the building, whether there could be something like a speaker's corner or a lightning talk corner or whatsoever. But I believe we would have enough topics from our community. If you just make a call, you can have 20 minutes to speak during the break. We would easily be able to fill these slots. But this is something that we have to see where we are in the hands of the host and the European Commission to guide us whether that's possible or not. Andre.
Okay, just a quick comment. So I usually help out to organize events a bit all over the world, and there's always a discussion about some of these things that have been in the chat, which are perfectly okay. There's many topics to discuss here. One of the situations was the break, like half an hour for each break. If it is too much, if it is too little, so let's reduce it and get some more time for other sessions. In the specific case of EuroDIG, so this is not, let's say, a technical event or something like that. In the specific case of EuroDIG, there is a lot of networking happening. So if you consider that you need to leave a session, which will take a bit more time because you are talking to someone else, you take 5 extra minutes, etc. You go out and then you need a bathroom break, and then you come back, you want to talk to someone. You cannot do that in 5, 10, 20 minutes. Half an hour is actually a good ideal time for this kind of conference. However, there are in the beginning, on the first day, when you have like the pre-events, there is a bit of slots for the third room, so that could be an option if someone wants it. You are muted, Sandra.
Sorry, I was muted. We don't want to spread our audience on the first day too much because we have those high-level sessions in the EuroDIG program, but also the EuroDIG masterclasses. And we would like to avoid to have the big auditorium empty because everyone is floating around in the building. So this is really something that we would like to avoid. But definitely, you see, we have a 19 minutes break. Sorry, not 19, 90 minutes break, which is quite a lot. And also the coffee breaks, at least in the main program, are scheduled with 30 minutes, and we won't change that. So these 30 minutes plus the 90 minutes break, they remain. And as I said already, the building or the venue is very compact. We will be all together all the time, so there is no way to escape. Because you don't want to go on the main street, which is a street with quite a lot of traffic, and people won't get lost. So they will stay in the building, I'm pretty sure. Regina, you want to pick up on this?
Yes, thank you. It's a very difficult, of course, the balance, but also what was mentioning earlier at the beginning of this call was that the opportunity of networking is very important. And exactly these breaks allow not only for preparing the room for the next session, but also for the people to have individual pre-arranged networkings or just spontaneous. Also, I wanted to say that we were looking with EuroDIG in the possibility to offer some space, for example, for dynamic coalitions, to have like a booth, a corner somewhere where they can have their engagements. We have to see, as Martina mentioned in the chat, if sound-wise it would be possible to have also a mic, or if it would be like really only small engagements at the booth. When we went to a visit of the site, there was a conference happening, and it was all the people were only in the main auditorium, and we came in when there was a break, and we will have 2 more rooms at especially on the second day, and already only the people from the main auditorium, if they went out for the coffee, it was very, very loud there. So I cannot imagine that somebody, even with a microphone and speaker, would do some meaningful speech there or something which could be really followed after. So yeah, let us have a look in this spaces so that we make sure that there is some space for the networking, what the catering would allow, and yeah, and the break Sandra already explained. I mean, this half an hour is really too little to do some change. I don't know if we would like to devote 1 room during these 2 lunch breaks of 90 minutes for like 20 minutes speech, or maybe if it would not be more efficient, what already Sandra mentioned, this opportunity of this virtual pre-events, and just have it as a fact that the space is limited. The building downtown Brussels brings really a lot of positive aspects for possible participants. So let's make the most use of it and maybe give them more space in advance in the online, in the virtual form. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Regina, and also for looking into all these opportunities. I think we will follow up bilaterally the three parties involved here, what is possible and how to accommodate all the needs. I see in the chat there's also need for seating in the common parts. I must say, as Regina said, it's not huge, that area. It's good because on the one hand, it keeps everyone in one space, but we do not really have long corridors or these kind of things. It's a foyer, and yeah, I could imagine it can be loud when everyone is out of the room. Let's see. Going back to the timeline, so after this, by the end of the week, we have the consolidated program. We will open the registration, so that will be our next newsletter to the community, that the registration is open and that the consolidated program is online. At the same time, we will be calling for org teams. So Rainer is about to prepare the wiki in the way that for each session there will be a session template that is the same for every session, where you can find mailing lists. On these mailing lists, you can just simply subscribe. That makes you part of the organizing committee. You, of course, can also just watch if you are interested in reading and observing a session development. And the program committee, together with the secretariat, will reach out to potential focal points. Focal points are the ones that take the lead and the responsibility on the organization of a session. And we usually invite members from the community that have been proven very reliable in terms of organizing a session, or that have made a proposal in a direction where we believe that could be the lead proposal for a session, that gives the direction for the session. We are also always taking the risk, and most of the times it is not a risk, but rather a pleasure, of involving totally new members to the community to organizing a session, because EuroDIG is all about being inclusive and bringing in new people. So we always had some people that we did not know from the community that organized the session, and They did it very well, and we were pleased. Of course, sometimes you also have dropouts. For instance, last year it happened that proposals were made for, I think, even 2 sessions, and at the end we couldn't find a focal point, or one focal point had to withdraw due to other work-related engagements, and so we had to skip. Rainer, correct me if it was 1 or 2 sessions. I don't quite remember. Was it 1 or 2?
It was 1 session that we had to skip.
Yeah, but during the process of finding focal points, we didn't find a focal point for 1 session that was proposed, so we skipped it at an early stage already, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so that can happen as well. It shouldn't be the secretariat and shouldn't be the program committee preparing the session. That is a risk here. If we don't find focal points or organizing committees that take the lead, the session cannot happen. This is something that we have to keep in mind, and that immediately a slot can become available because no focal point is found. So we also will call, if we are in this situation, on the newsletter or online. So if you see such a call, then please help us identifying possibly someone that could take the lead. So this is what are the next steps for the secretariat and for the program committee. And in April and May, since EuroDIG is end of May, in April and May, 1.5 months, there is time to organize the sessions, and that is that should be enough time. It was always okay. March is still in the moment of finding the teams, bringing the teams together. Some of them will already start, but April is the month to organize it, and then most of the people get very busy in May. But we will set a deadline, possibly like something 2 weeks beforehand, so that at least 2 weeks before the conference, everything is on the wiki, everything is available, because that is the moment then when last people decide whether to join the conference or not, which is actually too late, because I said we closed the registration on 30th of April. So we have to rethink our timeline again. As sooner as possible that information is available, the better is it for others to decide whether they join EuroDIG or not. Questions on the timeline? Okay, then let me go to participate. In particular, those who are new to EuroDIG, who never been to one, who are new in this call, I really encourage you to join the org teams. As I said already, the session templates are on the wiki. Next week, the latest, and there are mailing lists for each session. There is a mailing list. Just subscribe to it, and you are part of the org team, and you are free to contribute with whatever expertise that you can offer to the team. We consider the session planning process already as a lead up to the EuroDIG, so we are basically not organizing just a conference here. That's why our slogan is more than just a conference. We are basically organizing a multi-stakeholder dialogue platform, and that already starts at the session planning. Sometimes in the org teams, there are heated discussions, already multi-stakeholder nature. Sometimes it goes through rather smoothly, but the session organizing process is part of what is the DNA of EuroDIG. So it's not just organizing a conference and a good session. It's really the work starts with, has already started, but for the org team starts with the planning of the session. And the program committee there will be one program committee member on each session, at least one, sometimes even 2. And the program committee will then be in the observer seat. They will just chime in if they are asked for assistance, or if they have the feeling that the session principles are not really taken into account, or if the program committee sees that some sessions are redundant, so that the same speaker, the same topics are discussed in one session as in the other. So that's why the program committee will meet and observe on a rather high level. The work is really with the program, with the organizing committees. Are there questions? I could not follow the chat while I'm speaking, so if you have something in the chat that you believe should be spoken out loud, let us know now, because also the chat will not be published. We only publish the recording, but not the chat. Oops. So then I continue on the org teams. I said already, the org teams are responsible for the detailed session planning, for the final title, and they will also agree on the speakers and the moderators. It happens all the time that we are approached if a director or a leader of a organization, of a company, can be just forwarded as a speaker. It's always a little bit tricky to explain then, yes, but this person has to be part of the organizing team, and sometimes those people then say, well, I'm not being part of an organizing team here if you want me to have as a speaker. So for the secretariat, it's always a little bit of a delicate situation. What we are happy to do is when we get these kind of requests, we forward those requests to the organizing committee. So at least that the organizing committee has a chance to discuss whether they would like to involve person XYZ. Of course, we also have an interest, for instance, that VIP person, let's say, from our partner organizations, the ICANN CEO or the Secretary General of the Council of Europe, is if those people having an interest in contributing, of course, the Secretariat will, together with the program committee, then make space for those people so that we can be sure that they find adequate space in the program, because this is in our very own interest. And then spoke already about a focal point. The focal point is the person that takes the lead and the responsibility, and that is in close cooperation with the Secretariat and with the program committee. And we will organize briefing materials for the focal point, what to do, when, and how, so that everyone is aware of how the process works. We did that all the years, either in several calls, or we provided material that is then presented to them. And in particular, Rainer is the one being available all the time for all the questions, also with regards to the wiki. And this brings me to my last slide, the wiki, our full pride. It's for a very long time, until EuroDIG takes place, the source where you can find the program. So the program, even not the draft program, will not appear on the website. It will only appear on the wiki, because it's a program in flux. It's just shaping. So it makes no sense to publish it on the website and then change it all the time. But the wiki is indeed our collaboration tool for session organizers, where they can either edit the wiki themselves, or they can ask the Secretariat to edit the wiki for them. Both is possible. If you are fine with editing a wiki, you just have to register for the wiki, and then you get access and can edit the session page yourself. It does not necessarily have to be the focal point. It can someone be from the org team being named as the one who is editing the wiki, but it should be an agreed approach. So not that everyone is putting something in the wiki as they wish. There is, however, and I showed that already at last year's program. So we have the program overview, and then when you look at any of the session, let's take here the NRI assembly, you see this is the session template that will exist for all the sessions. And then there's here a page, it's called discussion. And in this respect, or in this case, the page was blank. But this is a page like a sandbox. Everyone can write on this page, and everyone can watch this page. And this is really the place where, yeah, which in other places would be a Google document. We decided for the wiki, and we would also encourage everyone to rather keep everything in the wiki and not to operate with separate Google Docs. If a Google Doc is unavoidable, then at least publish the link to the Google Doc so that the program planning process is transparent, and that people who are joining later in the process have a chance at least to catch up and become part of the session. And as I said already, it's also an easy access for new participants. So whoever is joining later, because people finding out due the course of the organization that, hey, EuroDIG is taking place and I have something to contribute. How can I still be part of this? If the wiki is in good shape, then this person has an easy access and can catch up. And I said it also, EuroDIG's archive source for researcher. We get feedback many times that this is actually a great source for research, even if you would like to go back in history, how a discussion evolved. That was my last slide. And I would finally give the word to everyone here in this call and would like to thank you already for joining that long. If there is anything else that you would like to bring up, even if it was not on the agenda, if something is on your mind, please speak up now. Wout.
Yes, Sandra, of course, the most important question, is there a music night?
No.
No.
No. It's not. I know last year at the Council of Europe, we had a music night. There was space. We don't have the space this time. And also, I must say, there was not much attention to last year's music night. So there were only a handful of people, and it's quite a logistical endeavor to put everything in place. So no, there's no.
Yeah, but you're totally right about that. There was not a big attendance last year.
Yeah.
But there is a social event planned because Jacques is asking that as well somewhere.
Yeah, so at the moment we have foreseen in the program bring you the first drink is on us on the second day of the conference, but I know that EuroDIG is also looking into options, at least having a cocktail on the venue, and there might be something organized by EuroDIG, but here the information I cannot share at the moment. That will be shared later in the process. Jack.
Well, just following up on that one, you see, it's really an essential feature of any EuroDIG of every year. So on the 26th in the evening, will there be nothing at all? So I'm just picking up what Andre was rightly bringing up on networking and so on. So and also the question maybe to representative of the Commission. So could we stay there, at least have some drinks on the premises, or are we just kicked out at 17:30? I think we had something similar. I remember we were kicked out somewhere in quite early. I don't remember which EuroDIG it was. But dear Commission, what are your plans?
Regina, might you want to take up that question?
Yes. As I can, but at this point I can just support what Sandra said, that we are looking into the option of having a cocktail, which is a combination of the availability of the building and the budgeting, but we are trying our best to indeed have a networking opportunity. On Tuesday in the evening, EuroDIG is celebrating the 20th anniversary, and it will be a separate registration for this. So there will be, at least for some of the EuroDIG participants, an opportunity as well. But there is not like a capacity for like all the hopefully expected 500-600 participants.
To give a little bit of more background, because I'm not into this, but in Brussels, there are cocktails happening, I don't know, 20 per evening in all kind of areas. And what we have to avoid is that the Brussels bubble is registering for an event where the space is really very limited. So what will happen? There will be a separate registration and for EuroDIG participants, so that EuroDIG can kind of make a little bit more sure that not just people register for 20 events and then don't show up, but occupy the space and others cannot join. So this is the challenge here. It's really that there is a tendency in the Brussels bubble. Yeah, I register, and then easily the registration list gets full, and those that you would really like to invite are not able to join anymore. That is the background. So,
but staying for a glass would be an option, and we as a host would definitely go for it if the possibility will be there. But we are now in let's say earlier stages of setting up and like negotiating with catering, with the agency and everything. So we will keep everybody informed in timely manner.
We will definitely keep everyone informed.
Yes, if I may, I totally agree with Sandra's concerns about the Brussels bubbles attitudes, but maybe if we can manage to have any social event, let's say on the 26th, something could be still helpful for participants is just to have a short list of places that are close by to the venue. So this, I saw it with our latest Congress, facilitates a lot informal gatherings. So people that even though there is not a formal gathering, but people who are meeting in the same place, then they can discuss together where to go, and then they can decide and still continue the conversation in smaller groups, but in a different place. So if that is possible, if you have anyone who can take care of that, that would be already a nice asset.
Yeah. As said, there will be something, but this information is really, we are in the moment of working that out, and it's really hard at the moment to say more
I don't know, of course, but I was
think about it.
Just wanted to provide a very low budget solution.
Yeah, I will come back to you to help us with low budget solutions to manage that. Okay, anything else? Then let me remind you to register for the conference as soon as it opens. You have 2 months, March and April, and do it as early as possible. And think about whether you would like to join online, but hopefully we can welcome you in person on site. It's all about networking and dialogue, and we're looking very much forward to the 19th EuroDIG. Next year is the 20th. I can't believe I'm still there. And thanks to the community that keeps us still going and that is still growing. We feel very privileged to organize a movement or a conference or a platform, however you would like to call it, like this. So thank you very much. And the recording of this call will be available on the website within the next couple of days. So if you weren't able to follow all of it, or if you would like to listen in again, that will be possible on our website. Thank you very much, and have a good rest of the day. And we hear and read from each other.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sandra.